Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. Okay, so I wanted to talk about one thing, and I think I may have put this in another video. So if I did, I will probably delete this video. But I wanted to go back through and discuss this. So I was chatting with some friends online who are all on COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown, and one of the things that I was noticing is that. Uh, the the world has kind of changed with respect to marriage, just in general. People in their 30s feel differently about marriage than people in their 20s, and which is vastly different than people in my generation. I personally am glad that I got married, and I was married once before. I was married when I was 27, and I was divorced when I was 30. I was married to the wrong person. And I believe I have another video that talks about just that, in terms of, making the decision. I should have, been strong enough to just walk away and not get married. But, I was 29 or I was 27. And as Gary Vaynerchuk says, we think that that's like our life is half over, which I thought was hilarious because that's exactly what I thought. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost 30. My God, if I don't, my life is half over if I don't find somebody, which is hilarious when you look back because you think about the fact that that's true in terms of my life. And even if I was going to die when I'm 60, then certainly my life would be half over almost. But, the problem is that I dated the same person for 4 years when I was in graduate school, and after I graduated graduate school, and was working at the university, and then ultimately got married. But the uh, the problem is that I wasted far too much time from age 24 to age 30. I basically spent 6, almost 7 years of my life with someone, and it didn't work out. And I wasn't strong enough back then to really, really uh, acknowledge that it was the wrong thing to do. Right now, these days, if there are red flags, or I mean, no relationship is perfect, but if there are red flags or problems in your relationship, it's not going to get any better. So don't kid yourself that like, well, yeah, he's going through a phase. He's like that. I probably deserve it. Come on, just give me a break. I mean, you don't deserve to be treated like crap. You don't, deserve to be taken for granted. You don't deserve to be mistreated or abused or cheated on or anything else like that. So, just stop it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So, but by the same token, if it's not going to work out, then don't waste any more time. I was 24. We should have dated for a year. I knew deep down, is like, this is just not, it's not really what I'm looking for, but it was there and it was convenient. But it also kept me from being able to date other people, which I would have been able to do, and likely may have found somebody else that I liked better. So, and might ultimately have married them. Who knows? But the problem that I think I see with the whole thing is simply that the more of my followers I chat with on Instagram and Snapchat and here on YouTube and also on Quora.com where I am, the more I realize that people are wasting an enormous amount of their youth, that they're wasting their 20s in one relationship, that ultimately, they wake up one day when they're 27 or 28 or 29, or God forbid in their 30s, and they're like, damn, I just wasted like 5 years, 7 years, 9 years with this guy. And it's just it's not the right fit. Either he finds somebody else, or, he's cheating on you or whatever. And it's just an opportunity for you to move on with your life at that point. But you have to understand that the marketability of people changes over time. I mean, just in terms of, when you're young, and whether you're, doesn't matter if you're male or female, when you're young and in your 20s and starting out in your income earning potential, you have a lot of potential. And in your 30s, when your income is finally starting to come rolling in, and the relationship really needs to kind of be headed in a direction. Now I'm a marriage guy. I mean, I believe in marriage, and I believe that's important. And I think people should be married, but but it doesn't work for everybody. Not everybody's a huge fan of marriage like I am, but I've been married 22 years now, so works for me. But actually, I've been married 21 years together, 22. But I prefer being married as opposed to not being married. But it just is. It's a construct that works for me, but it's not a construct that lots of other people these days, at least in their 20s and even in their 30s, typically endorse. And it's a shame. I mean, obviously, people have found out that you don't need to be married to have kids. And a lot of people have had kids that never got married. And those kids didn't grow up necessarily in a two-parent household. And I think that's a shame. I think that, providing your kids with a stable, two-parent household to grow up in is part of your responsibility as a parent. I think that it makes all the difference in who they're going to be and who they're going to become and things like that. So, it's an interesting situation. I think that I would like to see people focus more on developing the right kind of relationships and then eventually have it move in a direction that is meaningful if they want to have a family. Now, if you don't ever want to have kids and it's not really a consideration, then great. You don't have to worry about that. I mean, the only real reason to get married is to have kids, typically. It's and of course there's a moral and religious religious dogma and legal constructs around that. So, if you're not planning on having kids together and you don't feel the need to get married, then don't. But my thing is that married or not, I hate to see people waste so much of their time. I mean, I chat with people all the time that are in their late 20s, early 30s that wasted 90% of their adult, relationship time on one or two relationships that were just horrible for them, that caused them irreparable harm, just in terms of not being able to move on and not being able to get to where they needed to be with somebody else and, things like that. So it's a shame, but I think that there is opportunities out there. And, if you really were intellectually honest about it, and I think that times like this when everybody's on coronavirus, COVID-19 lockdown, and either they're on lockdown with their wife or husband or significant other or boyfriend or girlfriend, or if they're not and wish they were, those kind of things are pretty typical of the kind of problems that can interrupt the flow of a relationship. And so I think it's important that, if it's not really going well, if it's not really going where you want, or you're not really getting what you need out of the relationship, either emotionally or physically or, spiritually or whatever, then I would encourage you to reconsider whether or not that relationship is something you want to continue to spend the kind of time and energy invested in. Maybe your time is better spent somewhere else. So, but it's funny. Everybody asks, so if you could do one thing over, usually typically about my success and stuff like that and what I've done over the years, like if you could do one thing over, what would it be? And my answer typically is the Apple lawsuit settlement over G3, where they were looking at 1 million shares of Apple stock at $10 a share, and I was holding out for a cash settlement and stuff like that. So obviously today the stock would be worth $278 million, or no, actually $2.78 billion if I had retained the stock and kept it through its splits and stuff like that. So it's pretty funny, but more than that, more than the monetary value of all that, I really wish I could take back the 7 years from the time I was 24 to the time I was 30. I wish I had spent more time not in a relationship and not being married. I think it was a huge mistake, and I desperately want everybody out there who feels you're trapped in a dead-end relationship or trapped in a dead-end marriage. if you really do think that it's not going anywhere, and you're 23 or 24 or 27 or 29 or 31, and it's not going anywhere, and you know it's not really going anywhere, you're intellectually honest about that, then the best thing you could do is end it right now, so that you can tomorrow then is the first day of the rest of your life, and you can figure out who it is you're supposed to be with, what you do want out of a relationship and out of life, and work towards that. But as long as you're with somebody else, that'll never happen. So anyway, I appreciate you guys listening, and I hope everybody stays safe out there. Thanks.